if you look at Ulster at the minute, they're actually sitting okay in the table. I think it's third position. Haven't lost too many games, and but that's all because they got off to a flying start. They did very, very well in the early part of the season, and now they've hit a bit of a roadblock. And very interesting comments from Dan McFarland post match about his team's loss to Munster, and something specific that he said in the interview was "we," so not they. And I think he means that we as a team, as coaches, as physios, as S&Cs, players, the whole shebang, it comes across the way we played that we didn't care, because of the way that we played. But even still, looking at that as a player, like it's only the 15, 23 guys that are out on the pitch. I can read between the lines pretty easily, and I think a lot of the Ulster fans have. And it's pretty evident across all of social media and across even BBC Newsline here in the north. They did an interview last night with Mark Sidebottom, who obviously covers the GAA a lot, and he came across a little bit frosty. It doesn't seem like it's a happy camp, and looking back through Alex Ferguson's quotes, he always says, don't point the finger at the players, take responsibility and then deal with it in-house. But at the same time, I sort of like what he did, because I think some of the players do need to kick up the backside. I think that some of the players aren't playing to their potential. This can go one of two ways. Like, they can go out against Benetton this weekend, that have performed very well. They've beaten Glasgow Scarlets, Edinburgh Dragons at home, the Smoke Zebra home and away. Only one loss against the Bulls at home, where they conceded just had a bit of an off day. But if they lose to Benetton, then all of a sudden the pressure mounts again, and those comments that he maybe made after the game, the Munster match, he might make again. So like it's one of those ones where it has to be a must win this weekend. They have to get back on the horse. They have to he has to get the players back on side, and he has to make sure that they're starting to perform a little bit better. And I think sometimes saying things like that in the media can almost fire a shot across the bow of some of the players, and maybe it's a bit of a wake-up call. So many people will think that Dan McFarland probably was, something about Dan is he's not just going to say something for the sake of it. He's a very calculated guy. He thinks very thoroughly about what he's going to say, and he just didn't say that for any reason. And I think hopefully the players react well to it this week, and that they can come out fighting, and that they can get a good win against Benetton. But it's going to be very, very difficult. I think this number 10 conversation isn't going to go away, because Johnny inevitably is going to pick up probably a niggle somewhere between the World Cup warm-up games until hopefully Ireland win a Rugby World Cup final. And that's always going to be a case. Who's stepping in there? Do you want the reliable Ross Byrne to kick you your points when it's clutch moments? He certainly steps up. Or do you keep going with Crowley, who was half decent there against Ulster? Or do you stick with Carberry, who seems to have jumped in pretty well in big games like France away last year in the Six Nations, and see how that goes? But it's obviously disappointing that he's picked up an injury. I think it's a fractured eye socket. I fractured my cheekbone and eye socket, was out for 6 weeks. Mine was a pretty bad displaced one. So speaking from experience, hopefully he'll not be out for as long as people think. But one thing is, he's got to try and stop tackling with his head and start tackling with his shoulders. I know it's an incident in the game which maybe could have been avoided, and an unfortunate clash of heads, but Johnny's always tackled very, very high, and it just gets it slightly wrong. And I think it was Butler, the guy who carried the ball, if he had went down clutching his head, there could have been and it had been a tight game, a quarter-final, semi-final, there could have been a case for a yellow card or even a red card for Johnny Sexton, because he's so upright in the tackle. But we'll save that for another day, and hopefully Johnny can recover well. A 5 to 6 week period is probably something that the medical staff are looking at, and hopefully it's not as serious as we all sort of thought it was, because you could see it was pretty clear. Like I don't think you need a doctor to to see that there was something dramatically wrong with the side of his face. So yeah, we wish him the best and a speedy recovery. And it's going to be an interesting conversation at the start of the Six Nations of who's playing well, because I think Ross Byrne is, obviously that penalty that he kicked, or conversion, I can't remember what it was, against Australia to win them the game, coming in last minute. I think he's got all the pedigree to be able to step up to international rugby. Munster have been a team that have been progressing throughout the season. Shocking start, and question mark straight away about the new coaching setup. Andy Kiriakou, Dennis Leamy, Graham Rowntree, now the head man. But I got chatting to Dennis Leamy very, very briefly before the game, the Munster Ulster game, and he says, "Oh, we're up here to try and spoil the party." And I was like, "No, don't be trying to spoil the party." He says, "Oh no, we had a really good night last night. The boys came together well. They're feeling good. We're all feeling good. So, hopefully we'll give it a good rattle." And something about Munster is when their backs are against the wall, that's when they seem to come out fighting and playing their best rugby. And the way they tactically switched it up, so Crowley moved to 12, Healy moved to 10. They brought on Conor Murray as well. I think Paddy Patterson, the scrum half, played half decent, but I think Murray just gave them a bit more tempo in the final 20 minutes. And they ran Ulster all over the place. Ulster were missing tackle after tackle after tackle. And I think Munster probably deserved to win in the end, because Ulster didn't really fire a shot. And when they tried to fire a shot, they either knocked it on, turned it over, missed skewing the line out. Their big game players aren't turning up. But, Munster, in fairness to them, with a raft of changes from the week before, because of RFU resting protocols and all the rest of it, I thought they put in a real dogged performance, held onto the ball specifically well at the right times, and ground Ulster down. And when Ulster try to go toe to toe with teams, they seem to come out on the losing end, and that's only one win out of their last 5 games in all competitions. And Munster, they're kicking on now, and they should put in a good performance this weekend against the Sharks and continue on climbing this table.